Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Safety Brief. We do apologize for the interruption last week as there was a major outage. However, today we are diving into something that's close to our hearts here at Blockworks, and that's how we help our partners succeed. We're talking about what we call security first enablement, which really is just a fancy way of saying how do we give our partners everything they need to win more deals and help their clients effectively. Today, I'm joined by Kelsey, our partner success advocate. She works with our partners every single day, helping them grow their business and solve problems. She actually interviewed me earlier this week on the partner assembly, and now it's my turn. So, Kelsey, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here, happy to help in any way I can. So, what can I do for you today?
Yeah, so to get us started, I'd like to start with more about your role. What does a partner success advocate actually do all day, and how do you work with our partners?
I love that question because it can be taken so many different ways. Partner success advocate is another way to say account management or partner relations or customer success, just depending on the business and how they decide to label that type of role. But really, what I love about my role is I take that portion of advocate pretty seriously. So I've been in the IT space for over 14, it'll be 15 years now. So I'm not green. I like to say I know enough to be dangerous, which that means that I can translate from customer to tech and tech to customer. But can I fix anything? No. And you don't want me to. But what that does is it lends me and that background and that experience, it lends me to that advocate role. And so my role essentially here is to bridge that gap from sales to service, and really being that first point of contact to advocate on our partner's behalf, whether it is for something as simple as, hey, I haven't heard back on this ticket. I'm going to go advocate for our partner. Or vice versa. If our techs haven't heard from a partner, maybe they're on vacation or out sick or something, I'm going to go advocate on their behalf and be like, hey, just want to touch base, make sure, everything is moving as smoothly as it should be. But I'm really here to advocate on behalf of both parties and teams, you know, from something as simple as that to, okay, what do we need to have what we're talking about today? Security first enablement. Advocate on our partner's behalf. Hey guys, we need to create some content around this and bring it forward. So really, my role here is to make sure that the voices are heard from our partners, but also amplify our voices out into the community as well from Blockworks. So.
Thank you for that. I love that hands-on approach you have. It sounds like you're really embedded with our partners, not just checking in yearly, but there to help along the way.
Mhm.
Now, when we say the security first enablement, what does that actually mean? Because I think it might be different from other companies who support their partners.
Yeah, and it can take on many different forms. And really, what it comes down to for me, and if you're going to do security first, the first piece has to be education. We have to take upon ourselves to educate ourselves, gain that knowledge that then we can put it out there um, for them. So, knowledge equals power, and it's the power to make things better. It's the power to move an objective forward. It can take on many different forms, but first and security first, it can come in two different forms. It's not just, having MFA enabled. It's not just having our blocks in place. It's not just those things. It's making sure we educate ourselves first so that we are aware and up to date, but then we can move that forward for our partners or for our customers as well, knowing firsthand what's going on so that they can then be aware and hearing it from a trusted source. So making sure education is key just really helps in all facets in what we're doing. And it also allows us to break it down and make it relatable. And I think that's the hardest part. If we don't understand it, they're not going to understand it. So that's
Yeah.
why I want to start first with us. We have to understand it. We have to be able to translate it so that it's digestible and applicable. Because if it's something so convoluted, because it's like, oh, here's just a bunch of information I found, nothing can be done with that.
Yeah.
So we have to break it down so that it's relatable and applicable in the day to day.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're really changing how our partners talk to their clients, essentially. Less about those tech specs and more about how we're keeping them safe and what makes a bigger impact.
Hmm.
And speaking of impact, are there specific tools or resources that partners have found most helpful in their security conversations? And on the flip side, what are they still asking for that maybe we haven't provided yet?
That's a great question. I think in forms of tools and resources, I break it down always to we don't know what we don't know. And yes, we can go and we can research and we can find those things. But truly, the tools and the resources that should be leveraged is community. Community is key because we can go and find things and think that it's right, but as soon as we meet somebody else, they can let us know, well, that's not actually true. And then we have to start all over. But if we have communities that we can, ask questions and bounce these ideas and these references and this information off of, it's like you're sharpening your toolkit. So those communities can be large or small. It could be something like an ASCII group or a Robin Robbins community or a Facebook group or our community portal where we bring information and where all of our things are located, but also all of our partners with us here at Blockworks are located as well. And those communications and those conversations can start naturally, but it's a community. Because as we grow together and share this information, it just makes us that much stronger because there's perspectives and pieces that we didn't necessarily take into account or could have glossed over because we didn't think it was as relevant. But if somebody points it out and puts it into an analogy or a story or a real world experience, we can connect better with that to then better tell the story or tell our customers down the road of, okay, this is how this impacts because of X, Y, and Z. And those communities are huge because it gives us samplings of real world instances, the good, the bad, the ugly of something that happens. It gives other thought perspectives and further information, or just even tools and resources. We can find, 5 or 6, but if we have a community that we can pull from, we can expand that to 12, 24, you know, unlimited possibilities with that. So it's ever evolving and ever growing because as people we can only see so much. If
Yeah.
you start adding others on that grows exponentially. And I think that's super helpful when it comes to it. And for the tools and resource side, I think that's a great place to start and to get the ball rolling there. As far as what's still needed, I think that was the second part of the question, right?
Yeah.
What's possibly still needed? I would say we do a lot of putting that information out there, but hearing like the real world experiences. I think that some of those resonate really, really well with our customers, our end users, because at the end of the day, they're a business protecting, their people and their entities. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's relatable. So those shared experiences, even though we're in different fields, can truly benefit those. And so I think those shared experiences should be needed and well, not should be needed, should be shared and are needed because people, real stories resonate.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Having a community is huge and can be very impactful. However, we do need you know, partners and so on, the active members of the community to share their knowledge, their thoughts, their processes. That way we can all grow and learn together. So that's super impactful. Thank you for that. You know,
Yeah.
it also sounds like our partners want to be more advice giving, but sometimes lack the specific materials to have those higher level conversations. So how would you say we are addressing those gaps for our partners?
Um, with regard to, um, I want to make sure I answer the question correctly. So Can you restate it for me?
Yeah,
At least the
sorry,
first
I kind of
problem.
botched.
No
I kind
worries.
of botched that for you. Just, our partners are wanting to be more than just advice giving. They're wanting to have more knowledge or higher level conversations when it comes to
Okay.
cybersecurity. So how would you say we are addressing those gaps for our partners? So essentially, what kind of content or resources are we providing our partners to have those hard conversations with their end users?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. I think some of the ways that we are putting that out there is definitely by making material available. We have an entire stack of, I think it's 7 different volumes of our stack against other vendors in the market. And you can go and you can see those side by side comparisons with the tests that are run and what the results were. Now, it's never to, make someone look terrible or anything. It's for information. It's a purely, this is the test that was run, this was the result, and this is what these tests conclude. I think that is a great piece of information to utilize for internal on, making sure that the MSP stack and what they have in place to protect their end users still stays at a standard that they're looking for. It's also one of those in the education side of, okay, what, that's looking for your vendor and that information, but then it's also, okay, what are our clients looking for? What are they out there looking for to gain better understanding on? And that's a kind of hard line to be in the middle of, but it's also nice to know that you have those resources available. And a lot of businesses that are out there, they're concerned with CMMC, what industry are they in? What's going to be relevant and making sure we stay on top of that. And what I recommend to our partners is if you take a look at your customers and your customer stack, what are the top 3 verticals that your customers are in? If you had to put them in verticals, okay, what are your top 3? Where do the most live? Then go and take a look, okay, what's the most common problems that these ones face? And then what are some, and you can even poll them and ask them, what are their biggest security concerns? And then if you have that from your top 3 clients or, where most of your clients fit, then you can start developing and gaining that knowledge so you can gain talk tracks or develop your top talk tracks on how we alleviate the problems that they face and how we're making sure that the security that they need is in place, whether that is through, endpoint, whether that is through CMMC, or whether that is even down to, okay, all of our customers, they're asking questions on insurance. Which box do I check? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
for those different industries, they have certain requirements that they have in place. Are the MSPs ready? Can they answer those questions? Or is it just a, hey, they asked me this, now I'm going to go research it. Here's your answer, done, and then moving on to the next. But I do think it is helpful to have a repository of that information for your team, for your account managers. These are, your top 3 industries. These are the clients, whether it's, banking, accounting, or, manufacturing. What are the security requirements in place for them? How are we fulfilling that with our stack? How are we answering the questions that they're asking us, whether it is on for insurance paperwork and things like that, or requirements that they have? Most financial, because this is the easy one, most financial, wire transfers or, any kind of different things that are happening in email. How are we making sure that the education is in place for them to um, stay relevant in, okay, what am I seeing? Is this real? Is this not? And to be safe. These are things that our MSPs need to be aware of to then take to their end users. But then flip side is as vendors, okay, these are things that are covered. And if we have that information available, and this goes back to a previous question you asked of what was still need, and maybe we have just a couple of blurbs on industry specific. Maybe we do one on financial. We do, and pull in from our partners what they're saying. Hey guys, here's kind of like a checklist of a couple of things to have in place. Now I just thought of that off the top of my head, and I apologize if I'm making extra work for somebody.
No, that's
but
a wonderful idea. And I'd like to also
be helpful.
encourage any partners to also utilize our suggestion box if you ever have
Yes.
an idea or a question. And, we do have a lot of resources. Sorry to cut you off there, Kelsey, but we
No,
do
you're
have a lot
fine.
of resources on our partner portal as well, including, educational tracks where you can learn more about the services. So I do encourage you to utilize those. And if you do have any questions, instead of Googling it, which this is something, or researching it, um, this is something we actually brought up in our interview together earlier this week
Yeah.
when you were questioning me and the roles were turned here. But reach out to us because we are here to help you. Reach out to Kelsey because she's more than capable and more than happy to help you answer those hard questions. Because when you research things about the current stack that you have, if it's not Blockworks specific, it could be the wrong information. And you don't want to be giving your end users or clients the wrong information.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point that you brought up. We were talking about that of, yes, we can find information at our fingertips, and a lot of different people out there, they keep a lot of their information close to the chest, or, that's their secret sauce and they don't want to share it. Well, if we don't share and if we don't have information that's digestible, and content for people to find, then they're going to keep going. And where are they going to get that information? Is it going to be a trusted source? Is it even going to be real? There's so much false information that's out there, and that could be a whole different talk track. I mean, that could be even another episode of the safety brief of, first accounts or false sites or things like that, false traps or whatever to fall into. Um, and being able to discern, what's real information from false information that's out there, and we don't know where it's coming from unless we have a trusted partner to ask and engage in those questions. As you said, yes, I am absolutely happy to help. I say that all the time. I swear that's like my catchphrase here, but I but I do mean it, with just the the knowledge I've gained over the last 14 years. I am definitely happy to talk through sales, marketing, ops, all those different things. And having worked in an MSP, I definitely understand from the inside out how how that works out. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And hopefully, this will encourage our partners to reach out more and not to be shy about it. Now, moving forward, what feedback have you heard from partners when they're trying to communicate the value of our security approach to their clients? What's working and what's not resonating? Because we know preventative cybersecurity is not the buzzword as of right now. Detection is
Mhm.
still clinging on for its dear life. People are still utilizing detection, even though there's something as powerful as preventative cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen this a lot of times, and I do think that I know it's possible. Working here, I know it's possible. But I do think that, there's those out there that still see, uh, prevention as kind of like if or oh, only if that was possible because it seems too good to be true.
Hmm.
And and all the different things, and they may have been burned in the past and things like that. So it is a little bit of an uphill battle, but it's definitely doable. um, and so with that, I would say that a lot of partners, with that, it's just the confidence. If they get a call from a customer because something doesn't look right, or they accidentally clicked on something and they need to go out on site, they have the confidence to walk in that, hey, I know this is in place. So all I'm doing is going in and doing a re-education, just a trust but verify. I trust it's there. I'm just verifying, but I know it's protected. So there's a confidence that goes into that meeting with the client because that solution is in place. And that is one of the biggest pieces, I think, there. On the flip side, we say handled, not homework all the
Hmm.
time. And I've actually had partners that have said, I haven't heard from you guys in a while. It, things are happening, right? Like, is no news good news, or is that a bad thing? Like, where are we at? And I think they've had experiences in the past of it being, they've alerted on every little thing. And so if there's not something that's coming through that they need to do something on, it's like they have to retrain their brain to know that it is being handled, But I mean, there's always you can log in and you can check. You can log in the portal and
Yeah.
you can check and you can see what's being done. But we also have, and the team has worked very diligently on reporting engines,
Hmm.
and we do have reporting on both, so you can see, where things are coming from, where it's at. And we've done a couple of videos on that. So that reporting engine, if you haven't yet, reach out to us and check it out on the community site. But we have that too as a way to show the proof is in the pudding. There's your pudding,
Hmm.
if you like. But I think that's the other part is just that getting used to it is happening, it's being handled, and I can be a little bit more hands off. So what that allows our MSP partners to do is to be masters of their trade and their stack that they've put in place and taking care of their customers because they have the confidence that the security side is being handled. We're just an extension of them. But I think it does come back to the confidence of if they get something from or get a call from a client or something like that. Hey, I clicked on this. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Are we okay? There's that confidence knowing I will look into it. I this is in place, this is in place, having that confidence, no, these tools are working. They do what they're supposed to do. I trust that they're working. I'll verify, make sure everything's good, and then go from there.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that, silence is good from us. When we brought this up in a previous episode of the Safety Brief, that, Blockworks is never ghosting you.
No.
No contact is good contact, okay? Rest assured that if anything was going on, you would be contacted. If any changes needed to happen, you would be contacted. And I know it is a huge shift to go from having alert after alert after alert after fire to silence and serenity. And that is why we tout the fact that we provide peace of mind to our partners. And we see that a lot of the times new or newer partners are still uneasy from their previous cybersecurity stack, and they're
Yeah.
questioning us like, what are you doing? Like, how come I haven't heard from you? How come I don't have any alerts? It's because it's handled, like Kelsey said, it's handled, not homework, which is super
Mhm.
powerful in my opinion. So thank you for that, Kelsey. Now,
Yeah, alert fatigue is a real thing.
oh,
Um,
100%.
you know, but there are those, and I want to acknowledge, there are those that really do appreciate those, but there are those that like to have all of those alerts, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that's not what we're saying by any means.
Oh no.
It's, there's two sides to every coin, and, it's just, I think it goes back to that adjustment. It's an adjustment in how things work back and forth and how they talk to each other. So your point is absolutely great is, getting used to things being quieter is a hard adjustment, or sometimes it's a relief.
Yeah.
And just we like to meet our partners where they're at. It is about the relationship. And that's what it's going to come down to is that relationship because when our partners grow, we grow. And that's what we want. We want it to be that relationship so they can be, like I said earlier, the masters of what they do for their clients and not jacks of all trades because that gets exhausting.
Yeah. So now looking forward, what would an
Mhm.
ideal partner enablement experience look like from your perspective? If you could design the perfect support system for our partners, what would that include?
Whew, that is, my goodness, if I could wave my magic wand and make something happen.
Yes.
Um, I had it's $1 million idea of creating more time. That's the number one thing because I've asked partners this before in the past, like if I could wave my magic wand and, make something that would just make your life that much easier. The number one response I always get is more time. And if if I could create more time, I would. Um, but I like to call it a reallocation of time. So, and that's where partnering with us and having the SOC there in place, it is a reallocation of time because that time that you were sifting through things, that time that you were investigating every little alert or something that comes through, that all equates to time, and that time can get reallocated into you know business driving, business revenue pieces that were then, just or before spent on just in the day to day to day to getting things done. So with that reallocation of time and that understanding of how that's going to work is, I think, one piece that's key. And then I think the other piece is just making sure the educational content is there from multiple facets, because there are ways that we can present our information that helps our partners sell. There's ways that we present information that helps them add to their marketing. There are ways that we present things that helps, their operational team, because we are an extension of them. And I think that that's part of that enablement is being well-rounded to it's not just, the tool and the sock. There's
Hmm.
also that additional layer of pieces that help them grow, whether that whichever level on their team that may be. Are we going to solve all of it all the time? No. We don't need to. There's so many resources that are out there, and I don't want to take from anybody else, but there's, ways that we can help, with the information that helps their sales process. Speaking to, okay, this is what these security pieces do. This is how the end user benefits. That's what they're interested in. They're not as interested in the tool itself. They're interested in the benefits and what it does for them, because that's, at the end of the day, their business is in, you know, finance or cupcakes or whatever it may be. But they have to do these things. They have to check their boxes when it comes to security, when it comes to, you know, AV, etc. They're going to check their boxes so that they can continue to make their cupcakes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if they have the information in a digestible way that impacts them of just, okay, this is how we protect your business so it can do what it does, that's what's the most important. And then, on the flip side, those MSPs with their technicians, they want to know the nitty gritty, the tools and things out there. We have that as well. So, it's making sure that it's well rounded for all parties within an MSP's business to move it forward and grow.
Yeah, thank you for that. That
Yeah.
vision of a confident, empowered partner really resonates. It sounds like we're building towards, our partners becoming true security consultants, not just technology resellers, and having the comfortability to truly talk about what they're doing for their clients by partnering with Blockworks. Well, Kelsey, this has been a very insightful discussion so far. But before we wrap up, what is one key takeaway you'd want our partners to remember from today's conversation?
I would say um, education and knowledge is so powerful. And it always starts with us first.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can expand that out to our team. So, going back to what, we were talking about today with that security first enablement, we have to educate first, because that allows us to then do what needs to be done after that. And education and knowledge is so powerful, but we also have to make sure it comes from a trusted source, and making sure that we are finding those things out first for ourselves, but then also working with our communities to continue that. So I'd say that's what it is.
Absolutely. And to our partners watching, remember that Kelsey and the entire Blockworks team are here to support your success, whether it's our monthly partner success assemblies, our one on one support, or the resources we're continuously developing. We're invested in your growth. So please don't hesitate to reach out or to utilize that community or our portals that we've put in place for you guys. And for everyone else watching, if you're interested in becoming a Blockworks partner and experiencing this level of partners support firsthand, reach out to us via sales@blockworks.com or drop a comment with any questions you may have. We'd love to explore how we can help you succeed with a security first approach. Thanks again for joining us on the safety brief today, Kelsey. It was an absolute pleasure. And remember, in cybersecurity, the best outcomes are often the ones you never see. The threats that were prevented, the breaches that never happened, and the peace of mind that comes from true protection. We hope to see you next week for another episode of the safety brief. Until then, stay frosty.